Let's roll. Hi, welcome SUSE. Welcome to SUSE QE Tools Workshop. Today with a topic about uh, Mergify. So what is Mergify? Mergify is a service that's integrated into GitHub, and we use that in some of our projects on GitHub already. And most of you might have seen that I'm also proposing the use of that for the main OpenSUSE and SLE testing distribution, also in this distri OpenSUSE. Let's show first how it looks like on OS Autoinst, and then I'm showing you some additional stuff, what it can do, how it can help, also where it would have helped, and then the configuration, and then we can discuss what to make out of that, if you like it or not, if you have questions around that or ideas how we could extend on that concept. So let's take any of the recently merged pull requests, and then you can see a usual flow. So for example, here we have a pull request that was opened and nothing special happens from the beginning. What we see here is that people engage in reviews. For example, Marcus gave some plain comments. Then Marcus approved the change, which is one of the prerequisites, but it's not enough. I requested some changes, and eventually I approved the changes. And then what happened is that no human merged this pull request, but Mergify, which is a bot, and Mergify merged that commit into master. So why did Mergify merge it here automatically after more or less immediately after I merged the change? So this happened 3 days ago. The pop-up hover, which you won't see in the shared screen, says that this was 21:15 the time, and this 3 days ago says 21:15. So it's actually within the same minute. If we take a look into the details of the pull request and the state of checks at that time, we can see that we have 8 checks that need to pass and that were considered to be passing when Mergify merged this pull request, which is we do have a check on the commit message format. So some simple checks like we need to start with a capital letter, and then that the initial subject line is not becoming too long, because we use these lines in the changelog. That's why important to have that. Then we have a basic test, which is basically, well, all the unit tests which are included as the main tests within OS Autoinst. We have an additional test pipeline, which is configured in GitHub Actions. So this is why it shows up here as one additional thing. We have an OBS package build. So we build and test each package in OBS before we merge any pull request. And then we have one additional bot service, which is work WIP. WIP checks if there's any work in progress status, like if the subject line is marked with WIP or draft, or if there's a special label, or if the pull request is not actually ready for review but is a draft itself, then this check won't be checked yet. But this was ready for review, so all good. We also have 2 checks for the code coverage. One check is that for the patch, for the actual change, so the changed code needs to be completely covered with at least statement coverage of testing. And also we have a target for the complete project, so that independent of the patch coverage, also for the complete project, we want to have a minimum level. And then what Mergify is doing, it's evaluating rules that we have programmed Mergify with and saying that one rule matches and also two potential rules, whatever that means. And then it merged. And we can go into details here, see what it means. And there we have this list of rules with a nice checklist. So actually we have in auth audience, we have 3 rules. This is why it says 1 rule and 2 potential rules. We have automatic merge, we have automatic merge on special label, and we have ask to resolve conflict. Actually, let's start with that one, because this is like really simple. It has one condition, like if there's any conflict in the pull request, then this rule will apply. And the action, what Mergify will do, despite the name, it won't merge, but it will comment. So you might have seen a comment like that already if you contributed to auth audience Opengl. If you have a pull request and then some other change gets merged and then your change is conflicting with the newly merged code to master, GitHub will flag that as conflict, but you might not get the message directly. So this is why we asked Mergify to say, please comment on the pull request and then ask to resolve the conflict. Now this didn't apply here. And also we haven't used any special label. Like if we would use a label merge fast, then this might have applied. But what did apply was the rule for automatic merge. And you can see all the rules that we specified here, and all of them have to match. All of these have to match, and all of these have to match, so that we go ahead and say if all of them are fulfilled, then we merge. What we have configured is this only applies to when the base where we want to merge into is master branch. Okay, so we don't actively use other branches for production use cases, but if we would be, then the Mergify configuration wouldn't apply there. Then you can see here that the condition must be, this is inverted, so there must be no label acceptance test needed or not ready. If there would be a label not ready, then this wouldn't be checked, meaning that there won't be an automatic merge until that label is removed. We require that the check succeeds for CodeCuff project and CodeCuff patch and OBS package build. There must be no failures and there must be no pending jobs. So, you know, it could be that these checks apply successfully, but there are some other jobs which are still pending and then we don't want to merge yet. So this is why we have. And additionally, we want to preserve a linear history, meaning that we do want to use explicit merge commits when merging into master, but we don't want anyone in their pull request to include a merge from master into their pull request branch. Okay. So on top of that, of course, we're also looking for approvals in the review. And we are saying that we need at least 2 reviews. And on top, even if maybe 2 people have approved, but there's one person that's like please change that. And as long as this hasn't been resolved, then this wouldn't apply. And on top, if someone is asked for a review explicitly over the GitHub feature to say request review from someone, then also the check would not be completed. So let's say 2 people already approved, but we are still looking explicitly for an approval by 1 person. As long as that request stays there open, then this isn't solved yet. Yep. So any questions up to this point or any comments you would like to add? Go on.
The last one with the conflict. The GitHub doesn't match if it's conflict anyway, right?
In GitHub, you can actually see if you scroll to the bottom of a pull request then it would tell you the conflicting files. But I think so far there's still no notification about that. So you wouldn't get any email or something like that.
Yeah, but the merge can happen if there is a conflict anyway.
That's correct. But this is not about merging. This is basically just to make that explicit by writing a comment on the pull request. So Mergify can do more than merging. Okay. Right. So let's see. I can show you one example where it would have helped. So here in OpenQA review, at this point in time, we have not used Mergify to the full extent. And what we see here is this is a pull request from Marcus. I reviewed, so I asked for some changes. Opengl reviewed. I approved because to me it looked fine. Kalikiana also approved. So we had 2 approvals, and then Marcus merged. And if you can take a look, then two checks have passed. Now, does anybody see the problem here?
There are no checks, tests running or anything.
Exactly. There are no tests. There was just, a simple check by Mergify, and the pull request was not work in progress. So all checks passed, but the tests were completely missing. And we didn't realize, because at this point we just took a look on like, okay, as long as there's no check failing, we are good, right? We overlooked that what we used was travisci.com, and travisci.com stopped working at this point in time. When on previous pull request it was still there. I can also show you previous pull requests. So let's go back a little bit further. Zip. This is how it should look like. So you see there's actually 3 checks, and then there's privacy pull request build passed. Yeah, and here all checks passed, but it's only 2. So we missed that. Okay, and well, mistakes can happen when you have humans reviewing changes. So this is one additional reason. So I see multiple points how Mergify can help. Let's show you the configuration. I consider it quite readable. It's written in YAML. So for example, this is the conflict handling, where we say there's a rule which is called asked resolve conflict. There's one condition. If there's any conflict, then do actions. What's the action? The action is comment. Comment takes one parameter, which is message. It writes this message, right? And similar here for the rule automatic merge. So what we do is we have conditions, all the conditions which I showed you before, and then action merge. And now I see multiple advantages how Mergify can help us. First, it can help us in cases where we say, actually, everything is fine. We are just waiting for one of the checks to complete. Okay. And I, as a reviewer, I want to give approval already, and I don't want to wait until the check has completed and only then click the merge button. But instead, I would like to give my approval as a reviewer and say, well, as long as nothing else will change and the check will pass, could be in 5 minutes, could be in 1 hour, I don't care, then it will be automatically merged, right? So this is one advantage. The second advantage is that it helps us, in this case where I showed you in before, where there is something missing and we didn't realize, it helps us by codifying that explicitly to say, like, as long as these things don't show up, then we don't call it a success. Or let's say the OBS package build, that also happened, that sometimes it was missing and we didn't immediately realize. This is why we have mentioned it explicitly. As long as that isn't there and as long as that isn't successful, we don't want to merge automatically. And by trusting Mergify to do that with all these additional checks, then we could be on the safe side. And the third additional point is that for any contributor, we have a written agreement of what we consider as requirements before we consider something mergeable, because it's written here. This is what we would like to have. And we could point out to contributors like, why am I asking you in review for linear history? Well, basically I'm saying like, because it's written here, otherwise we wouldn't merge anyway. So in my experience, people more easily arguing with a human reviewer than with a bot that applies rules automatically. Even though, of course, some humans, of course, needed to tell the bot what rules to look out for. But I think it helps because it's a written agreement, right? So just a short overview of what Mergify I will show you can also do. Documentation. So we have this configuration file, and I would like to, there are some use cases shown, for example, automatic merge on approval, automatic merge from bots, for example, if you have something like a dependency update bot or something. There's merge queues. And I was thinking about that myself. That might be helpful because, consider the following case. You have person A preparing pull request A, and you have person B preparing pull request B. And both might pass tests and both might look completely fine, but in the end, one is merged first. And there might be the case that both of these things conflict, but they only conflict after the fact. You would only see that after merging into master. So what merge queues can do is it can serialize the merging to say like, okay, there are two pull requests, A and B. Both of them are now approved. Both of them have their checks successfully passed. But what Mergify will do, it will decide which one should be merged first, and then the other one will be updated and rebased based on the merged new state. Checks will be reconducted again to check like, okay, does B now conflict with A, or the other way around? Then you can actually tweak that and control that to be sure that even after one is merged, then the other one wouldn't conflict. Now I would also like to shortly show you what commands can be done. You can actually write in a GitHub comment. You can tell Mergify to rebase. And the cool thing is you don't need any configuration for that because you just write Mergify IO rebase from your smartphone, and then it will rebase your pull request. And if all checks pass, then maybe it's good enough. Actually, I don't know what update and backport are doing, or okay, it is so update. I don't know, but backport and copy, it will, copy branches. You can squash changes, or you can ask Mergify to re-evaluate your rules in case rules have changed. And then there are actions. For example, we have seen already the merge, and we have seen comment. But there's also assign. So maybe, thinking about also Identity Free OpenSUSE, there would be a possibility to automatically assign people to review depending on the maintainer field or something, or some special description in the comments. Like, I would like to include OCodes in the review, and you can write that in a comment, and then Mergify would add that. There is dismiss reviews. So what you can do, it's actually what I'm proposing also for also on this display OpenSUSE, to say as soon as the author has provided changes in a pull request, existing reviews like approvals are dismissed again, so that your approval doesn't hold for something when the author changed something, maybe even with a malicious intent, so something will not be merged automatically. And yeah, and then there's post check. Post check I would consider is something like everything which is done in merge but without the merge, so it's actually just showing up as a check in the details, like here Mergify would show up here telling you if all additional rules are matched, but without merging itself. So yeah, that's it. Now over to you. What do you think about it? Any ideas, questions?
The only thing that I have to add is that there are more benefits on this than the ones that you mentioned.
Okay, good. There are some concepts, yeah, there are labels to enable disable merge. We have already discussed that. Use labels to prioritize merge. So something which I also consider important in case if we want to really order the merging, and there's matching pull request with task list. I wanted to take a look into that. Yeah, and it's gone.
Yeah, about the prioritizing. I have worked on Jerit. On Jerit, when you have on the commit message depend on,
Yeah.
takes the priority of the commit, right? Is it the same or it works differently? Like if you have depend on the commit message,
Yeah.
will it work out of the box or it needs to configure on the on the rules?
Yeah, you would need to configure that. For example, you could say, well, honestly, I don't know. Okay, actually, I see that this is also a premium plan feature, prioritize merge. But this concept of merge queues is, well, what's that? Yeah, it has pictures. Yeah, I haven't used that myself, so it could be something to take a look into. Few actions. Yeah, I don't know. There's some examples here, like a single queue.
So I guess you could configure how to handle multiple pending PRs that should be ready.
But that's the idea about the queue, that you queue them up, right? But that you don't just merge all of them in the current state, but you say like, okay, if there's a pull request and all checks passed, I need to ensure that it's actually properly rebased on the latest master. So this is when the queue would apply to say like, then Mergify would take the action, and I think this is how it works. It would rebase that ready pull request, conduct all the checks again, and only then merge. And then there's something more elaborate with priorities to say, yeah, and then this is some premium plan thingy.
Only.
Yep.
If you have one approval, can you merge? Or the manual?
Who can merge? I mean, I could merge at any time regardless of Mergify. Right? I can manually do that. You can configure that. Actually, we had that for auth up to some days ago, that as long as there's one approved review, then we merge.
So it doesn't force to have two reviewers, it's just...
No, it's really project specific decision. Let me show you. So we have this scripts repository, and here we say, yeah, scripts are not that critical. We don't need that many reviewers because the impact is rather limited. So let's go with one approval, and you can see that it includes less statistics and such.
The second question is, where do you see disadvantages?
Sorry, say again?
Where do you see yourself the disadvantages?
The disadvantages?
Yeah, you mentioned the benefits of this. Where is the downsides?
The downside, one downside that I'm seeing is that, of course, now we are learning to be dependent on one additional service, and it's a third-party service. So that service might not work sometime and or not be available, or they move to a different pricing plan or something. And then we would need to learn again to click the merge button. But honestly, it's not really that big of a deal, because at any time I can still click the merge button and I still have that text list there. So as a reviewer, I would need to keep in mind, like, okay, do all status checks succeed? Are we actually trying to merge into master? Is there not any such label? Is there another approval? Is there anything missing? Is it a linear history, and so on? And only then I would need to merge. So that's the only disadvantage that I see. I would like
Sorry,
to...
but
Yep.
But then again, for an additional service, that's not really a disadvantage that limits us in any ways. I mean, it's a convenience feature, and if it is there, it's there. That's nice. But if it's not there, we still stay productive.
I guess, yeah. So I would like to go with you over two other examples, which are also possible, which is shown here as an example. So, for example, merging based on modified files. So maybe we have some project where we say, like, yeah, we definitely always need to touch this file before a certain rule applies. And it doesn't mean that we always need to touch this file for every pull request. It only means that certain rules apply if files are changed. Okay. So let's say for an Opengl test distribution where we have a pull request which mentions something about schedule changes, then we say, like, okay, condition files in the schedule folder need to be touched, and then some other conditions apply, like, I don't know, the body mentions a verification run including the name schedule or something. Only then a certain rule would apply, which would be automatic merging of schedule changes. Okay, but that would be one thing that I could think of. Or let's say if any files are changed in the lib folder of auth or distri OpenSUSE, then there must also be modifications in the T folder for the according test, and only then a certain rule would apply. And again, not necessary to rely on Mergify to be able to merge something. This is only that it would only say that all of these rules are fulfilled in such circumstances, and then you can still decide Do you want to merge, or maybe just want to provide that as an additional status check? One other example that's possible is matching pull requests with a task list. So, you know, with GitHub Markdown, you can write checklists. So something as simple as using this square brackets with an X or with a space. And this also nicely renders as a checkbox. So within GitHub, you can actually click these buttons, and then it would mark it as checked. And you can use Mergify also to match on that task list. So what I could think of is that we, let's say in a pull request template, we include a checklist with like provide OpenQA verification run, check for impact on schedule, and ensure according OpenSUSE Tumbleweed changes. And then you can also tell Mergify if that checklist is included to say, obviously, only if all entries of this checklist have been marked, then we call that a success, and we either provide it as an additional status check or we merge automatically. So what do you think about that? And now I can show you for this one. So I have one pull request prepared, adding a Mergify configuration in auth audience DHP OpenSUSE. So you can check back on what I'm proposing there. So I'm basically adding this one single file, which is the Mergify config. And what it would do is would apply multiple rules. One is remove outdated review, so it would dismiss this review whenever there are changes. It would add additional checks, so it would add a post check, and it would add this conflict handling. Yeah, if you want to see, I was trying that out. For example, here I was creating in my own fork, based on a Mergify configuration in my own fork, a pull request, and on purpose I left the placeholder text in the description, and also the verification run includes the example text. So, you know, any reviewer seeing that should say like, yeah, please change the template before we won't be able to take a look into what you actually want to achieve, and also we won't merge the pull request. And we can see that all checks have passed except for the additional checks from Mergify. So if I want to take a look there, then it tells us which needs to be up to. Oh, interesting. I think it showed that. But anyway, yeah, so it doesn't pass the checks because the body includes this, please remove the line. So for example, here, if we say, as long as the body includes placeholder, then we won't. Yeah, the check will fail. So much from me. Comments, questions, ideas?
About the dismiss, what was it? The dismiss reviews or old reviews feature.
Yes.
Does this mean that effectively if someone requests changes and if I do a minor forced pull request, that this comment about requesting changes gets dismissed automatically?
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit too dangerous? I mean, this gives everyone in principle the ability to just dismiss requested changes by just doing a comment change.
Sorry, it doesn't remove your request for review. It removes the approval. I'm not sure if it removes the change for request, but I think what it will do, it will effectively do the same as let me show you. So if I have a pull request and you see that there are changes requested by Marcus, if I click on re-request review, I assume what it would do the same as clicking that button. And then it won't remove the reviewer, it will just remove this review. Yeah, but effectively it means before Marcus doesn't make a decision again, if, should it be approved now because the problem is fixed, or should we re-request changes because still something else or the original request wasn't done completely, then yeah, it's the same. It's blocking the pull request, and that's the idea, right? Okay. So if there's nothing more, as an outlook, what will happen in following meetings? So this is today about Mergify, automatic merges of pull requests and more. On the next 3 weeks, we will make a Christmas holiday break. And the one after that, the first meeting in the new year, this is actually 364 days after the initial workshop. So I'm a bit cheating here when I'm saying we are celebrating 1 year of SUSE QE Tools Workshop, because it's like 1 day short, but I hope you will forgive us. So 1 year of SUSE QE Tools Workshop, we will do that celebration and review, yeah, and have a good plan for the future. So this will be a discussion about the workshop itself, about the concept, about the content, how to move forward, if you should decide to cancel the endeavor completely, switch to a different schedule, cover different topics, or how to continue. Okay? So I hope to see you again until then, and until then, have a nice Christmas break. See ya.